were up to 822, I think.
Exist until 1981. Anything before that is a speculation. And who defines extreme poverty? The World Bank does. How?
We talked about this in the part 1 and how shitty this guy's takes are here as well.
By calculating the lowest, instead of this if we use the $7.40 line, or this if we leave out China. So not a dramatic decline at all, but an increase actually, or a stagnation at best, since 1981. There's also half of the world.
Context matters generally, guys. What is a fucking surprise?
World's population suffering from hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition. More than 40 million modern slaves, and the ever-widening income gap between the richest and the poor. So really hard to come to an optimistic conclusion that poverty is somehow on the decline. But it is a conclusion touted by Bill Gates, who also paid for this video to be made.
As the economist Max Roser has said,
the world has done quite well on this.
The newspapers could have run a headline.
The lives of the poor will improve more in the next 15 years.
Made in partnership with Our World in Data can be dissected like this. Look at the numbers on historical emissions from the video on who is responsible for climate change. Where are these numbers coming from? Our World in Data, of course, but that's just one source that conveniently downplays the role of the developed countries in climate change. According to a paper from Lancet, funded by no one, the US is responsible not for 25% of emissions, but 40%. The EU is responsible for 29% instead of 22%. G8 emitted 85% of historical CO2, and the global north is accountable for 92% of excess carbon in the atmosphere. These numbers draw a much less equitable share of responsibility than Kurzgesagt. As I was analyzing more and more videos, I actually discovered a plot I did not expect.
So, okay, so Kurzgesagt's information is not always the best. Like, wow, what a surprise. He's not always the best in the world at communicating knowledge. Is that really a fucking surprise? Like, it seems like they're trying pretty hard.
Expect to find. In a couple of separate videos on climate change, Kurzgesagt briefly mentions seemingly random selection of innovations.
Or a new generation of nuclear power plants to new batteries, electronics and steel, low carbon production of cement, artificial meat, carbon capture, direct air capture, and carbon capture.
There doesn't seem to be any objective merit as to why I mentioned these in particular, but they do have in common two things. Bill Gates has invested millions into startups developing low carbon cement, steel, batteries, alternative meat, nuclear, and carbon capture. And none of these technologies have proven to be commercially viable or scalable enough to make...
Okay, well, let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about fusion ever again. Let's not talk about any future technology ever again, because it hasn't been invented yet. Ha! Got him. Well, guess what, genius? We're never going to improve then or have any future technology. Like, what? Do these people not know how science is done?
Them count. The innovations lack robust scientific backing, and experts do not agree relying on them is a valid strategy. Many videos on topics that align with the interests of Kurzgesagt Billionaire sponsors are frequently sprinkled with messaging about how investments in innovation problem or make the world a better place.
By investing in these things right now, investment and aid and fair investment. Is investment massive investment as investment pours in?
It's obnoxious how often this happens.
We invest in innovation that lead to innovation, the nature of innovation. And innovation, but innovation, the more time we give innovation, and innovations like artificial meat.
The standards for quality of such data is profoundly lowered in order to make these hidden injections work. In the instance of carbon capture, Kurzgesagt pulled the numbers on cost straight from a Gates-funded magazine, who took the number from a Gates-funded private carbon capture facility. But
what happens, though, if everything is Gates-funded, in science? What happened? It's such a big company, and they've got so much money, they might be giving small amounts to thousands and thousands of companies out there, and they might have a hand in every single science pie you can think of. Are we going to draw this conclusion for all of them?
But that's the lowest estimate. In reality, it could be as much as twice as expensive today, and still at least twice as expensive as trees are right now, than carbon capture is projected to be in the most...
Yeah, I hate IQ as well. So instead of saying IQ, I'm going to say curiosity.
Optimistic estimates, which won't be real until at least the next decade. Rather than solving the climate crisis, many scientists argue such investments divert attention away from more impactful solutions and delay phasing out of modern industrial methods. And
well, these people, you know, I get that these people think they're helping that make these arguments, but at the same time, awareness is everything, okay? If the world isn't even aware of the problem, how do we begin to give investment to fix the problem? If 99% of the world is oblivious to something about to happen that's catastrophic, what do you need to do? You need to bring awareness to the world via communication. Without that, we're doomed, okay? So forget about, you know, a couple smart people hiding away who would potentially save all of us. You know, it doesn't matter if 99% don't know about it. I don't think that's going to work, in my opinion. I think we actually need some decent awareness of some big issues before democracy, you know, we should have a democracy before people can vote people in power who actually, you know, are gonna give some of their money, you know, give some of their tax money as well to fixing really big problems. Come download Cal, my friends. I created this. It's the first post-quantum VPN in the world. It can literally protect you from quantum computers, and the Mac version is out. So if you've been following along, my friends, and waiting for the Mac, it's finally out. So come help your boy. We're going to be creating a lot more as well. This is just the beginning, and I've got a little tutorial here for if you're having trouble getting it set up. There's a whole new UI. So yeah, please come support your man.
Fossil fuel dependence. Kurzgesagt doesn't tell you which technologies Bill Gates is invested in and how positive messaging about them is advancing his positions. But Kurzgesagt did take the effort to mention exactly those technologies that Bill Gates and his billionaire friends are most invested in. There is a pattern that can explain why Kurzgesagt videos are like this. In many videos that coincide with Bill Gates' interests, they collaborate with
Bill Gates is an old man, guys. He is about to shuffle off this mortal coil fairly soon. Do we really think Bill Gates just wants to, he wants more money? The guy is already one of the richest people in the world. What need could a very smart human possibly need from having more money? This guy making this video is projecting his nature onto other nature. Because he is so hyper-focused on creating this clickbait video to just get rich quickly, he thinks all billionaires who have made it must be this way. They must be obsessed with making a lot of money, and that's it, right? They're not even considering that this old man, right? Just consider what it's like to be old, guys. This guy's clearly never done it. If I was a 60, 70-year-old man, do you seriously think, if you were, you'd give a fuck about making more money? You can't take it with you. Okay? Yeah, sure, your kids can have it, but they're already set up with the billions and billions of dollars that will last for their kids and their kids and their kids. Okay? This video doesn't make sense. This guy is suggesting that Bill Gates must just be a complete psychopath. Okay? That's the only way that works, that argument. And you know what? I don't think he's a complete psychopath. You go listen to his interviews, although he actually might be.
With our role in data or prioritize their content on these issues. In their video on Do We Need Nuclear Energy to Stop Climate Change, Kurzgesagt prominently links to Our World in Data's pieces on nuclear energy. This video is not sponsored by Gates, but the billionaire is betting heavily on his new generation of nuclear reactors. Kurzgesagt's source document links to Our World in Data 27 times.
Again, he's taking the conspiratorial take. Another take of investing in nuclear energy, investing in these things. Is the guy wanting to make money, or is he trying to give a lot of his capital to helping the world? People always want to take the most dramatic route like we talked about earlier. Think about this, guys. Old man Bill Gates, is he wanting to actually maybe help by diverting capital into technologies which might render our civilization a future? Like, it might give us a future if we stop burning fossil fuels. And so we need our rich old farts, the billionaires, to put money in these technologies. Not to make more money, but to actually get us this new technology. Like, this is hurting me.
every third reference. Kurzgesagt made videos heavily criticizing organic food. This is another topic of major investment from Gates, who thinks industrialized agriculture with pesticides and GMOs is the
What a surprise that all educated people in science, all scientifically literate people converge on similar ways of thinking. Why do you think that might be the case, genius, the hated one? Maybe it's because science generally is truth-seeking, and generally when you truth-seek, if you actually have the ability to arrive at something resembling truth, generally means there's like facts around, right? Which generally means all smart people who are scientifically literate converge on similar ways of not just thinking, but have a similar subset of information of what the framework they build their world with, in which they view the world with. They can see the interconnected things because they've learned about it in their science classes, right? That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just how science works.
best approach to solving world hunger, which it hasn't solved so far. In all 4 cases where Kurzgesagt draws verdict on organic food, our worlding data is cited as reference. This video is also not sponsored by Gates. The most generous billionaire is one of the early—
But also, please consider, guys, I am not sitting here supporting Bill Gates. I don't know the man, okay? None of you people do. So why would you sit there and also pretend to know how Bill Gates thinks or what interests, what he's like? We don't know, okay? I'm not trying to do that. I think based on what he's done, I'm impressed. And I have reason to suspect he's clearly quite an intelligent guy. So just be careful with your monkey brain wanting to be drawn to, the most dramatic solutions to everything, which is, he's trying to destroy our world. He just wants to make more money as a 65-year-old.
Days backers of alternative meats owning major positions in vegan and meat-free protein companies. Kurzgesagt has made a series of videos on meat, all with a strong verdict on how meat is bad for you and the environment. All of these videos were advised on by Hannah Ritchie, one of the key lieutenants at Our World in Data. During the production of at least one video, Ritchie was a business manager at a meat-free microprotein company. Whatever your take on meat is, these are conflicts of interest that should normally be disclosed by any serious research. But Kurzgesagt makes no effort to
I can't with this video.
help you connect the dots. Kurzgesagt is terrible at disclosing their sponsors. I did a poll of my audience to see when they think channels should disclaim sponsorship. Most people would prefer before the video starts or during intro. Kurzgesagt never reveals their sponsors until the very end of their videos. Some sponsors were declared—
Why do you think that is, guys? Can someone use their brain for a change? Why do you think people want to leave the sponsors to the end? What's the most important stat? Well, the second most important stat for YouTube videos, watch time. Watch time drops like crazy if you put a fucking, one of these ads at the start. People didn't click on it to see your ad.
in the last few seconds of the video, some were only mentioned in the text on screen. And in at least one instance, the only disclaimer of sponsorship was in the description. This is a low bar even for YouTube. Plenty of good—
This guy has one of the most conspiratorial minds I've seen. This is bizarre.
Good educational creators disclose their sponsors up front. Why should Kurzgesagt be given a pass? Most people who do not watch videos till the very last second, or who cannot read everything that's on the screen, would never be aware of the extent to which Kurzgesagt videos are sponsored by billionaires. Kurzgesagt also does a terrible job at explaining who their sponsors actually are.
This video is part of a series about climate change supported by Breakthrough Energy,
In their climate change video sponsored by Breakthrough Energy, you're told it is just
a coalition founded by Bill Gates that's working to expand clean energy investment and support the innovations that will lead the world to net zero carbon emissions.
But they don't tell you that Breakthrough Energy is a bunch
If I was to do what Kurzgesagt's done, I would do everything in the exact same way. Am I against, I want humans to succeed. I am for humanity. And I would do everything the exact same way as Kurzgesagt has done. So, what does that suggest? Maybe Kurzgesagt is just people like us,
of venture capitalist funds where billionaires stand to make huge profits from adoption of technologies they invest their billions into. Kurzgesagt left a link in the description that leads to Gates' book sale, but not the fund's official website.
Yeah.
YouTube has a policy that flags channels funded by governments with a label that informs viewers of this financial conflict. This was enacted with the aim of combating government
What's the conflict here? The guy's presenting science, communication. Like, people can Google this stuff. You can't spin an agenda usually when you're presenting science, okay? Like, you're just presenting science. It's based on evidence. There's no agenda there.
Information on the platform. You can see this on Kurzgesagt German channel that is backed by the government, and YouTube labels it as a German PBS. This same standard should be applied to private funding too. There should be a label that cannot be arbitrarily set or removed by the creator that discloses upfront who is funding their videos. Media consolidation is a major threat to diversity of views, and billionaires, including the ones funding Kurzgesagt, are the main driver behind this trend. It is not enough to promise editorial independence, because there are multiple ways sponsors can influence content behind the scenes. Kurzgesagt maintains their sponsors never have input on their scripts, but in practice, they routinely consult with researchers that come from sponsor-funded institutions or scientists directly on their sponsors' payroll. The two videos Kurzgesagt made with Max Roser were sponsored by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But Max Roser's Our World in Data received almost $5 million from Bill Gates, so what is exactly the degree of separation here? In the video on vaccine side effects, Kurzgesagt lists 6 experts they consulted with, at least 4 of which are from Gates-funded institutions, and 1 scientist is an executive.
Like I said, I'm sure a lot of science institutions, particularly in what they're interested in, are funded to some degree by these people.
At the
We
Gates
are,
Foundation.
ladies, man.
How is that not a sponsor commenting on their script? In
This
3
guy doesn't
videos
understand.
Kurzgesagt made for the Templetown World Charity, at least 4 out of 6 scientists have received direct funding for the research from Templetown. In the Kurzgesagt video on long-termism, The Last Human, sponsored by Open Philanthropy, 2 out of 3 scientists are from the Oxford's Future of Humanity Institute.
Oh my god.
The institute, which received at least £15 million from Open Philanthropy.
This is the worst video I've ever seen. University of Oxford, so it's propaganda because they're some of the best scientists in the world.
The one LMU Munich scientist was also at Oxford during the...
This guy doesn't understand how scientists are funded. They're funded by either governments or big charities that want to fund science. And what a surprise, they fund the best scientists in the world.
Open Philanthropy grants. There is no disclaimer of any of these associations anywhere in Kurzgesagt materials. Another long-termist video, the one on the civilizational collapse,
This is far worse than Hassan and Charlie.
was sponsored and researched by William McCaskill, seemingly a random professor from
hello,
Oxford
Alexander.
University. McCaskill is behind
Thank
the...
you for watching them all. I appreciate. Let me just say thanks for all you people who, like, I don't know, watch my videos. I feel like I don't need to say thanks because it's sort of like a mutual agreement, right? Like, I'm happy to make these videos, and if you guys enjoy them, you can stick around. And, you know, so it's saying thanks feels ingenuine, you know? It's a weird thing to say, but, like, obviously thanks as well. But you don't have to. As long, you guys tell me if the stuff gets worse, right?
Center of Effective Altruism, and a number of other charities that have received funding from Open Philanthropy, and some have funded Our World in Data. Nothing about this relationship is ever disclosed in Kurzgesagt source materials. Open Philanthropy has given Kurzgesagt more than 5 million euros to expand the channel into foreign languages.
Can I have some money? Open Philanthropy.
And to promote long-termist philosophy and effective altruism in their videos.
I'm kidding, guys.
Do you think money doesn't buy influence? So billionaires do political lobbying and campaign financing for the lols,
Oh, thanks.
and
Oh,
they
possum.
don't get any laws influenced
Oh,
in their
possum.
favor?
Possum.
Do
Oh,
billionaires
possum.
buy newspapers and donate to media companies to support independent journalism? Think of what happened to the COVID-19 vaccine developed by the University of Oxford. Researchers originally planned to release their vaccine patent for free so that third world
Crazy.
countries could manufacture
Oh,
their
thanks.
doses faster instead of waiting for the rich countries
I
to
love you
donate
too.
the vaccines to them. Until Bill Gates stepped in and forced the university to against the pleas of the WHO and the developing world that patents would stifle vaccine access, Gates used his $750 million leverage to change a university's course. And he did this to protect the interests of big pharmaceutical companies he has been investing in for decades, which resulted in the global vaccine apartheid and possibly millions of preventable deaths. Money buys influence. It buys it in politics, it buys it in fame. They are able to decouple the interests of their funding source. You don't get to see a cutely animated character of Bill Gates meeting up with Jeffrey Epstein at his private venues after he was convicted sex trafficker.
Science is...
Yeah, no, that's too far. You're not going to put Carl Sagan, my absolute hero, on the screen and suggest he's spreading propaganda. That breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that people are this guy must have so much wrong with his brain. Okay? Like, if you truly think this man, one of the greatest, in my mind, humans to have ever lived, is somehow spreading evilness, I'm sorry, but you have problems and you need to see a therapist. This is so sad. This guy did so much good for our world. He was the first real science communicator in our world, and it's just goodness, man. This is one of my favorite humans.
More than a body of knowledge.
When big money buys big influence, science is always the casualty.
If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true.
You gotta love how he's using Carl against himself here, right? He's trying to use Carl to go against science when Carl was all about science, and this whole message he was promoting, because most of the world just doesn't even look into anything, and he's suggesting, hey people, maybe you should question your religions, maybe you should question what the governments tell us all the time. Like, he's using him against himself.
Skeptical of those in authority.
It becomes less diverse, more stringent, and more authoritative.
Then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious, who comes ambling along.
In the academic community, there is a phenomenon called the chilling effect. It occurs when scientists self-censor or refuse to speak out against the funding source of their institutions out of fear of losing support or...
Bullshit. There's lots of good scientists out there who do speak out and go against the norms. The best scientists, I'd argue. Just look at some of that guy, the Russian guy who refused $1 million. There's you know,
getting sad.
This guy is stereotyping smart people, and I don't think this guy understands smart people, so that's silly.
With the Gates Foundation, they refer to it as the Bill Chill. Gates' funding priorities have worried scientists for stifling diversity of views for decades. His philanthropic funding made it difficult to find independent reviewers. Through his multi-billion-dollar empire of donations and investments, Gates amassed enough power to single-handedly influence policies of global and national governing bodies. When Gates Foundation pours money into a project, big money influencing policies and public opinion. Billionaires have hacked...
Okay, I've had enough. So, final message of this video, which will be part 2 of this stupid fucking video, is basically, you know, clearly this is a copium video for everyone in a tough position in life, which I'm very empathetic for, who don't want to blame themselves. They want to blame everything around them. And the billionaires, they want to blame all these things, mental illness sometimes. They want to blame all this shit for their position. Also, we talked about 8 science videos, right? What's with the other 163? So true. Can you please put that in the video checker? Edit that in, because that's a perfect point, right? So it's all propaganda. Hey there, man. What's up? Are we gonna play some Halo, guys?